for Baddar! You will not win! We shall see!
Today, we're diving into one of those moments in history that changes everything. We're going to break down a single desert clash that didn't just decide a battle, it basically launched an empire. The Battle of Baddar.
So, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with a caravan that was carrying a lot more than just goods. Then we'll look at the seriously uneven matchup, the brilliant fight for water, the clash itself, and finally, the absolutely shocking outcome that sent tremors across all of Arabia. All right, let's get into it.
So, our story doesn't kick off with soldiers clashing. It actually starts with merchants. You've got this huge, wealthy trade caravan led by a very powerful Meccan named Abu Sufyan, and it's making its way home. Now, the Muslims in the nearby city of Medina, they plan to intercept this caravan. But hold on, it's not what you're probably thinking. This wasn't just some simple raid for loot. To really get what's happening here, you have to rewind just 1 year. These very same Muslims have been forced to flee Mecca, leaving behind their homes, their businesses, pretty much everything they own.
So get this, the Meccans had taken all their stuff and sold it off. And this caravan, it was literally carrying the profits from those sales. So for the Muslims, this wasn't about looting, it was about reclaiming what was rightfully theirs.
Well, Abu Sufyan was no fool. He got wind that the Muslims were coming for him, so he quickly reroutes his caravan and sends a messenger racing to Mecca for backup. And to show just how dire the situation was, the messenger does something kind of wild. It was an old Arab custom. He arrives, slashes his own camel, and rips his clothes to shreds to signal that this was a life or death emergency.
And back in Mecca, it worked. The call to arms was answered in a big way. A huge army was put together, and it was led by one of the most fiercely anti-Muslim chieftains around, a man named Abu Jala.
So let's talk numbers. The Muslim force that set out to meet them, just 313 men.
And the army that the powerful Quraysh tribe of Mecca sent, a full 1,000 warriors.
Okay, this disparity is just staggering. It's not just that the Quraysh had 3 times the men. Look at the cavalry. They had 100 horses. The Muslims had 2. I mean, 2. In open desert warfare, that kind of advantage isn't just an advantage, it's supposed to be a guaranteed win. And even after word gets to Abu Jahl that the caravan is actually safe, he doesn't care. He insists on pushing forward to battle. His goal wasn't a rescue anymore, it was total annihilation. So the two forces are on a collision course. Let's shift to the battlefield itself, a place called Baddar. When the Prophet Muhammad's forces arrived, they made camp at the first wells they came to.
And this right here, this is a pivotal moment. One of his companions, a man named Hubab, walks up to him and asks this really brave and important question. Is this spot a command from God, or is this just, military strategy? By asking that, he basically opened the door for a tactical discussion.
And Hubab's advice was just genius. It was so simple. He suggests they move the entire army under the cover of night, take control of the main wells at the other end of the valley, and then fill in all the other ones. You have to remember, in the Arabian desert, water is everything. If you control the water, you control the battle. The prophet immediately saw the wisdom in this, and the whole force moved.
So as the sun comes up, the battle kicks off, in the traditional Arab way, with a series of one-on-one duels. A Meccan champion, Utbah, steps out with his brother and his son, and he issues a challenge, specifically demanding to fight his own kinsmen, the men who had left Mecca to follow the prophet.
The duels were incredibly fast and brutal. The Muslim champions defeated all 3 Meccans, but this moment really shows you the tragic, personal nature of this whole conflict. Utbah's own son, a Muslim named Hudhayfa, literally had to stand in the Muslim ranks and watch his father and his uncle get struck down.
So with the duels lost, an enraged Abu Jahl just orders a full-scale charge. He figures his superior numbers will just swamp the smaller force. But the Muslims didn't charge back. They did something smarter. They held a tight, disciplined defensive line, basically forcing the bigger, more chaotic Quraysh army to break against them like a wave hitting a rock.
And you can see how it played out. The Quraysh charged once, and they were thrown back. They tried again, a second time, and were repelled again. Their momentum was totally gone. And seeing their chance, that's when the Muslims launched their own decisive counterattack. It shattered the exhausted Quraysh army and sent them fleeing in a total panic.
When the news got back to Mecca, nobody could believe it. Seriously, the first survivors who made it back were called liars.
And to really get the level of shock, you have to understand the Quraysh's reputation. They were the undisputed superpower of the whole region. They hadn't lost a major battle in over 60 years. So for them, this wasn't just a military defeat. It was a catastrophic blow to their prestige, to their whole identity.
One Western historian really captured the shift perfectly. This victory completely changed how people saw Muhammad and the Muslims. They went from being seen as a band of outcasts to a major power in Arabia, almost overnight.
So back in Medina, as you can imagine, the returning army was met with absolute joy and celebration.
But right in the middle of this citywide celebration, the Prophet was hit with a devastating personal tragedy. He learned that his beloved daughter, Ruqayya, had passed away while he was gone. He mourned in private though, not wanting to spoil the community's moment of hard-won triumph. But that triumphant feeling, it wouldn't last long. The war was far from over. Abu Sufyan, the very guy whose caravan started this whole thing, had escaped, and he was already out there, vowing revenge and gathering a new, even larger army from tribes all across Arabia.
So you see, the Battle of Baddar wasn't the end of the story. It was more like the explosive beginning. The Quraysh were humiliated, they were wounded, and they were vengeful. And with a new army of 3,000 on the horizon, the real question was, what happens next?